Hey, how's it going? We're going to be creating some excellent Ninja Creamy recipes today. Everyone's always asking, oh, how do you stay so jacked? You must eat only chicken, broccoli, and rice. Well, I actually do not like rice. I do like chicken, but a big secret to sort of my staying lean is a lot of the fun desserts and breakfast foods that I have concocted, arranged as an amalgamation from all the different sources or content I've enjoyed over the years. And I kind of want to share that with you guys. So today I'll be going over both the base of my signature Ninja Creami protein recipe. It will create a thick texture. Most of the common protein style recipes I see for creamies, it's usually a lighter ice cream, a thinner ice cream, and I want something that can like bend the spoon. So that's what I'm going to be showing you guys today. And I will also be kind of going over my meal prep of what I do in a week. So I'm presently out of Ninja Creamies. It's a travesty, I know, but we can create some together. I will be creating 9. It'll be 3 groups, 1 flavor each. And yeah, let's dive in. So we'll start with arranging the dry ingredients. I sort of have a flow, a process of how I go about this, and you guys come along. So I will be gathering all my containers, arranging them on a display, and I'll be gathering all the dry ingredients that are critical ingredients to create this dish. So I'm going to be creating 3 flavors today: a matcha, a fruit punch lemonade, and a chocolate peanut butter banana. And how I kind of go about this is I take one of the creamy containers to sort of limit waste of my dishes and all these sorts of things. I just use these as the receptacles to sort of build it all out. So I'm going to start with adding the common ingredients. So the dry base is always going to be, at least for me personally, it's going to be 12 of these blue equal sugar packets, a teaspoon of guar gum. You can also use xanthan gum. And then my personal favorite protein, not sponsored, I wish it was. I've had this practically every day for the last 7 years. Target's generic vanilla protein powder. Oh my word, I use this in everything. You'll begin to see in the other videos that this is my go-to always. It used to be called Market Pantry, and now it's called Up and Up. Sounds like their wipes. Does not taste like their wipes, I would know. And so I'm going to do 4 scoops of that. So let's get going. Start filling up all these containers. Okay, so I have my 3 flavors based here with just the protein. That's going to be this amount of grams divided across the 4 cartons. Look at the math. Okay, and then there's going to be 12 of these blue equal packets in each of these. So it's going to be 4 packets per pint. I did drop one. Terrifying. It is in a packet, otherwise I would not have used it. I also dropped a packet in my base. Okay, 36 equal packets later. So teaspoons are for the guar gum. Again, you can use xanthan gum. Okay, so now we have the base of the creamies, and this is where the fun begins, the base of the powder. So, like I said, I'm going to do a matcha, a fruit punch lemonade, and a chocolate peanut butter banana. And we'll kind of go through the tips and tricks that I've learned. The best distribution of the matcha is on Amazon. You can get like the matcha mix, and I found 2 tablespoons worth divided across the 3 pints leaves a really satisfying green tea flavor. Not too overbearing, but not too subtle. And the green tea is basically done from the dry side. You'll begin to see that, as I've realized and learned, using sugar-free drink packets is like a hack to get like a good flavor distribution. You saw it with the green tea, now you'll see it with the lemonade. So these are the Crystal Light, they go in like a pitcher, but I just use one for a good lemon zest, depending on how sour you want it. I like I like sour things, so I go for the whole packet, and then I will do 1 tablespoon worth of fruit punch. Again, this is the sugar-free drink packet. It's kind of like Kool-Aid. Okay, so that's the base for the fruit punch lemonade. Now, it's a good thing we chose the chocolate peanut butter banana because it incorporates a bit more components to just sort how complex you can get with the chemistry of the creamies. Okay, so we'll dry off our tablespoon here. Now the tablespoon's dry. We'll start with the chocolate pudding mix. I've tried with cacao powder, but I currently have a surplus of the chocolate pudding, so we're just going to exhaust that right now. One caveat or call out, I would say, well, I do love the Target vanilla protein. You can use ghosts, especially with this Reese's-esque flavor I'm going for. The Ghost Nutter Butter protein powder is an excellent substitute to sort of get a more rich peanut buttery flavor. I'm not a big peanut head, even though my head is a peanut, so I'm not super torn up that I'm not having ultimate peanut overload. So I do have a banana pudding mix as well. These are all sugar free. I'm going to add a tablespoon of that. And then, due to the richness of the banana pudding and the subtleness of the chocolate pudding, I will add another scoop of chocolate pudding, another tablespoon. So I've found with pudding mixes, if you do 3 tablespoons, that's a fair amount. It won't corrupt anything. I really like this strawberry pudding mix. You can see it's almost gone. Just 3 tablespoons of that. You can put some real strawberries on there, and you're going to town. So I like the PB Fit powder. It's good to measure, good to distribute, and they have this chocolate Reese's-esque one, which is pretty nice. And so I'm just going to do 3 tablespoons of this. It's going to be 1 tablespoon for each creamy. Actually, I'm going to do 4 tablespoons. So 4 tablespoons of this is this amount of grams divided across the 3 containers. And so now we have the last dry base here. I'll give a complete macro breakdown at the end. Let me clear all this up, and then I'll see you when we get wet. Okay, so now the base wet layer is cottage cheese. I like the fat-free, low fat, no fat, plain fat, all fat. They've all kind of worked pretty much whatever you got available at your local grocery store. And then almond milk, low calorie, 30 cals. I think I go up to maybe like 8 cups worth across the 3 containers. Again, I'll give a macro breakdown at the end of kind of what all this looks like, as well as what it looks like cooked. So let's start with the liquids. I basically am going to fill each one of these for each flavor with the same thing. I'm going to do 300 grams of cottage cheese, so that's 100 per. And then I'm going to fill basically the top of it with the almond milk so the blender has some base to get going. So let's go do that right now. Obviously, it helps to have a food scale, tear it out so the creamy cup doesn't account for it. I have different types of creamy containers, so each different container I tear out just to make sure I'm getting the right amount of cottage cheese. People do ask, well, why don't you use Greek yogurt? I've used Greek yogurt. Again, it creates a more light ice cream. We're here for the thickness. That's thick with 4 Qs. So let's start scooping. Okay, so I filled this one with 300 grams of cottage cheese. I'm going to top it off with some almond milk. It doesn't quite matter because eventually we'll be adding more later. So just enough to get some liquid flowing. Let's move on. Creamy number 2. Same thing, fill it up with almond milk. So typically I don't make 9. I was just away for a weekend and I kind of ran out and didn't have time to make a bulk batch. So, we're making 9, but typically I just make 2 batches at once, so 6. And a single cottage cheese carton is usually sufficient for that. But you can see we have 9, so we're going to use another cottage cheese container. Okay, so we have filled up all of the liquid bases. You can see I kept the spoon in there. That's a Mystery Mouse tool. Now, this is where the fun begins. I will be blending these in their respective components. I will probably do matcha, then the fruit, and then the peanut butter, just in case. Well, you'll see. I should probably say the required appliances to make this is a Ninja Creami. Now, I also have a Ninja blender. You don't need a Ninja blender. Any type of full-size blender will do, but it is required, dare I say, essential to be able to properly distribute the materials that we have here. So let's go in with the matcha first. I will apply the blender. I will use my Mystery Mouse tool to stir it all together because the cottage cheese kind of sits on the bottom and I just want it I want it to fully get poured in there. And then I usually add the liquid first and the dry because on subsequent rounds, the dry can get stuck to the bottom because the blender will be wet. Because you will see I will have to wash the blender before I do the other batches. So We will add that here. Now, it's best to additionally add more liquid to basically the max fill of 8 cups, or I usually go for 7 just in case it doesn't overflow. But if you have 8 cups of the liquid blended together, it will evenly distribute to the freeze line of all the Ninja Creami containers. So let's take a look at the target. So you can see it actually perfectly went to 8 cups. If there's additional, some stuff on the ceiling or walls here, that's fine. It's not going to be the end of the world, but there is some degree of chemistry required, but it will be okay. So now you saw I had the dry in this, and I had the wet in this, and then I had the empty one, and now we're just going to pour our completed concoction into these. As you can see, it's more or less an even distribution, but see, that's kind of the freeze line here, and I arranged them all accordingly. So with the matcha down, we can move on to the next ones. I'll probably start washing the container after I pour out the cottage cheese, but let's wash the blender right now. Wait, let's put a lid on these. So obviously, since I made them, I know what they are, but if I have two similar colored ones, I use like the little chalkboard sticker things, and I can write out, what they are. So those be called matte, short for matcha. Now that they are all together, we will freeze them, but we can just do that at the end. So now we can wash. So I gave it a quick rinse. As you can see, it's mostly clean. The only thing remaining is some of these green stains, but again, this is a bulk batch. We're here for efficiency. It ain't going to impact the flavor, so it's fine. No, I'll say it. It's going to be fine. So now we will begin with the lemonade fruit punch. Again, give it a good stirring. We learned from last one that you should probably wash this. Remember, a good rinse is fine. We don't need soap or anything that would ruin the flavor. So I'm kind of aggressive with the pour in there. It kind of fell out, but it'll be all right. So I'm gonna add a little bit less here. There's like some magic with the lemonade mix. I've found that if I add too much liquid, it's just gonna expand exponentially. So I have learned and walked so that you guys can run. So it didn't happen now, but if I ever didn't put an insufficient amount of almond milk in, I will like open this and then like pour it in and then turn it back on. Again, we're shooting for 8 cups, but as I said, there's magic, and this is more than 8 cups. And so we will have a lot of the fruit punch lemonade ice cream, but that's okay because it's actually one of my favorites. Again, try to get a good even distribution here and then set them aside. Well, I'd put a lid on them. Put a lid on them here. Wash this bad boy. As if by magic, the green is gone, and we will begin our chocolate peanut butter banana mix. Start with the liquid, give it a good stir, get the cottage cheese running. We'll be a bit more slow on the descent here. Every time. Again, so you can't really see, but when I'm pouring this in here, it's kind of like around the maybe 4 5 cup with the dry as well. And I'm trying to just get it up to maybe 7 pre-blend, because usually when you blend it all together, it goes up to 8. Aha! We can do the thing. So right now it's at 6.5, trying to get it to 8. So I'm going to pour in some almonds here. I'm not a supporter of Big Nut, but the only time I use almond milk is in these kind of creamies. I think people that use almond milk for their coffee are insane. Let me qualify that. I think they're insane because it's basically cooking the nut. And so you kind of have like boiled peanuts in your coffee. Not for me. Speaking of peanuts, we now have the final mixture here. I'm going to pour it into the cups. Put some more lids on these bad boys. And so that's kind of how I bulk prepare my Ninja Creamies. See, it takes maybe like 10 minutes to get all 9, and that'll last me maybe 9 days. Sometimes I like to eat 2 in a day, but it's just kind of depending on my mood. And again, we have the strawberry lemonade, the matcha, the chocolate peanut butter banana. Okay, and then I'll add on at the end of this video them fully prepared. I'll also go through the cooking process of how to actually get the right texture. Again, fail safe. This is replicatable to a science. I'm going to put these in the freezer. So I put them in the freezer here. Again, your ability to mass produce these bad boys is heavily restricted on the number of containers you have, how big your freezer is. Do you like them? I like them. And I have a decently sized freezer to arrange these, so I make 9. Greetings. As you can see, it is another day. I just got back from the gym. I'm going to be preparing as a dessert one of the Ninja Creamies. I think I'm going to do the matcha. No, I'm going to do the chocolate peanut butter banana one. And there's a few additional steps we got to do to actually cook the creamy. So first, you'll need something to boil water with. If you're old school, you can put it in like a measuring cup and then microwave it. I have an electric kettle, and you'll need a bowl to put the pint into. We're going to pour some water on the pint just a little bit, and then around it and let it submerge for about 30 seconds. And then there's a specific nuclear launch code combination you got to use on the machine. And so I'll walk you guys through that now. Thanks. So as you can see here, I have what is required to prepare the creamy for cooking. The pint of the chocolate peanut butter banana and my hot water here. I'm just going to pour a little bit on top for about like 1 to 2, 3 seconds. Pour it out, and then submerge it for 30 seconds. And the intention of this is to get the top a bit loose so the blades kind of go down a bit smoother. And then I'm not sure if you guys have experienced it, but the sides of the creamy can be a little icy, a little crunchy. This kind of allows a more solid and smooth approach. I was not timing because I was talking, but I imagine it is about that time. So let's go over to the machine. So you place it in its container, you put the lid on, nothing fancy there. So once you get it plugged in, you're going to turn it to light ice cream, let it run its course. You're going to reset it and then turn it back in for full. And then you're going to do one butt of the respin, let it do its thing, reset it, and then one button of the mix in. And that will create an excellent texture for you guys. Look at that. So usually I clean everything and then I just like eat it out of the container. But since we're making a video, I'll make it a little fancy for you guys. So I've got a little ice cream scoop. Well, first, let me show you the heft. Look at that. Look at that. The spoon's bending. I bet it can do the blizzard test. Come on. All right. So let's do some scooping too. Just to get a little visual. See, this is actual ice cream. None of that light stuff. I got 3 large scoops. There's a little bit of ice on that last one, but that's just what we got. Look at that. Yep. Oh, I should probably taste it too.